What's a happening on YouTube? This is John nerding out with cards. And first I want to say is happy anniversary of We Went Blues Day. To anybody that may be watching that's a Blues fan, it's just the anniversary of the first and only time that we've won a Stanley Cup. So, I figure I'd bust out newspaper from that momentous day. Awesome stuff. But don't want to focus too much on that. What I just got in the mood to do was just talk about my childhood heroes. So I'm gonna, talk about a few players, show a few cards, and kind of go from there. So, the easy one, right, and doesn't need a whole lot of explanation, is Ozzie Smith. So I'm going to show the rookie cards and then of a card that I have had autographed by the players. But yeah, Ozzie's my guy. I did a whole 40 some odd minute video on that. Showed this before too, where I got to meet him last year. It's like, why did I have him sign the 85 card? Because that's the year I was born. There's a card. Yeah, not gonna worry about that one right now. But did want to show some stuff. The Astros fans, like J Average Vintage Collector, and Brent Richards, I was going through a bunch of old newspapers, and there's this one. So this one for me is kind of bittersweet, right? Because this is a newspaper from when the Cardinals traded for Royce Clayton, which turned out to be a source of contention with Ozzie that last year. But anyway, check this out. Biggio picks loyalty over cards offer. And the Cardinals had pushed really, really hard for Craig Biggio to become a Cardinal. And I think it's better for Major League Baseball history that Biggio had stayed with the Astros. He was a lifelong Astro. Rather than coming to the Cardinals. While he undoubtedly would have been better than who they ended up picking up in Delano DeShields, but that's kind of crazy. But you fast forward a little bit. I saw this newspaper from when Ozzie Smith Appreciation Day. His final regular season game as a Major League Baseball player. You see, one of a kind. Truly was. Goes over a whole lot of important numbers, great things that Ozzie did. But this stuff is neat. You can see on the back of it this advertisement. Really cool stuff. The Hall of Fame announcement when he became a first ballot Hall of Famer. Deservedly. Yeah, I'd seen John 3D80's kid. I'll show you the back too. A lot of awards and honors it lists off here on the back, to include the Roberto Clemente Award. Just saying. But John 3D's kid did a top 11 list of shortstops, and there was a commenter on there that said, well, if you take away Ozzie's defense, he's not a Hall of Famer. If you take away any player's best ability, they're not a Hall of Famer. We have designated hitters of the Hall of Fame, for crying out loud. You took away their bat. Anyway. Oh, man. And this is a newspaper from when the Wizard was inducted into Cooperstown. I like collecting that stuff. So yeah, I want to show those off. Like I said, you've heard me talk about Ozzie quite a bit. And here's his rookie card and an autograph card that I wanted to show off. But there's a couple other players I really haven't talked about too much on my channel so far. So I'll just kind of move on. Unfortunately, my newspaper representation of these two is really piss poor. But anyway, my all-time favorite hockey player is Al McInnes. Some might know him as the Chopper. Man, I loved watching him play. Like when I first became cognizant of, sports in general, but, like hockey, I have a really cool card to show for this story, but the Blues had just signed or traded. It was a really weird situation for Mike Keenan. He was the head coach of the New York Rangers, who had just led them to a Stanley Cup championship. The Blues had a complicated history. They signed Scott Stevens, and you might know him as a New Jersey Devil legend, but they signed Scott Stevens, had to give up all these draft picks, making their captain right off the get-go. The next offseason, they signed Brendan Shanahan. This is like the infancy of free agency in hockey. And the compensation that the Blues had to give up was their captain, Scott Stevens. Asinine stuff. But anyway, the Blues had just kept pressing for that cup. And then it's just really, like I said, complicated history. Well, like I said, I remember Keenan coming in, and holy cow, did he make it his mission to just piss off the best player, Brett Hull. But anyway, Brett Hull was the guy. Don't get me wrong. I remember when he scored his 500th goal and things like that. But what ended up happening was, he left. Keenan was gone already at the time, but he ended up leaving. He became just another Blue to go off and win a Stanley Cup somewhere else. And but we had Chris Pronger. He came from the Shanahan trade, and they made him the captain even when he was like really, really young. And I didn't understand that. It's like you got Al McInnes. There were so much veterans on that team, but especially like the late '90s, early 2000s, because there was years where it's like one was hurt, the other was hurt, and they weren't playing together. But Chris Pronger and Al McInnes, I mean, in a 60-minute game, one of them was on the ice. But man, Al McInnes, he had that slap shot though. The Blues got embarrassed in the 2000 playoffs in the first round when they were President's Cup trophy winners. Lost in the first round of 7 games. And the next year they played the Sharks again. And I definitively remember a game where the Blues had a 5-on-3, and all they did was they would get it to the point, give it to McInnes, and he'd just fire it. Oh, that didn't work. Do it again. Fire it. Do it again. Fire it. But I would love watching him just rear up for one of those slap shots. And that's why, this is my favorite card of his. And I was able to have him autograph it. But this Super Shots, subset of a, 96 set, hardest shot you see down here, signed by the Chopper, Al McInnes. Of course, he's in the Hall of Fame. He had won a Stanley Cup earlier in his career in Calgary. Conn Smythe winner, actually. MVP for the entire playoffs. So Al McInnes, like I said, the Chopper, all-time favorite hockey player, my childhood hero there. For football, I mentioned this before, I think in my getting onto the YouTube video, but when the St. Louis Rams moved into town, he said Jerome Bettis was supposed to be the man. He was going into his 3rd season. He was arguably their best player, but that's not the way that it had played out. And what ended up happening was Isaac Bruce. He had a phenomenal season. For about, I would say, maybe 2 minutes. He actually had the single season reception yards record. The thing was, he had 1781 that year in 95. And then Jerry Rice later broke it that same last week of the season, went over 1,800. And what was mind-boggling was Isaac Bruce, even though, like I said, holding that record for a couple minutes, didn't make the Pro Bowl. Insane. But he later on became was a 4-time Pro Bowler. The following season in '96, he led the league in reception yards, and then '97, '98 he had injuries, hamstring injuries and whatnot. But then '95, '99, boom! I mean, came right back. That's when the Greatest Show on Turf tore up and whatnot. I got a newspaper from that too, and I thought it was just so fitting that on the cover of the Post-Dispatch they had the Reverend Ike, from when they won the Super Bowl. He was one of the original Rams, which we celebrated here in St. Louis. Those jackwagons in LA, they probably couldn't care less. But anyway, but yeah, I remember when the Rams did move here. We came back here for family vacation in the summer, and I'll probably do like another video more dedicated on this, show some more stuff. But the McDonald's was doing a set where you could get packs of cards, and you would get a Rams team set. And what it was just the collector's choice team set, but with a McDonald's logo on it. That's all it was. And so there was Isaac Bruce in there, who was coming off of a rookie season, which he had only like 250 yards. But anyway, the Isaac Bruce card out of there. And this is autographed. You see the McDonald's logo, but like I consider this Isaac's first St. Louis Rams card. Doesn't matter if it is in reality or not. You know how it was with the mid-90s, but you see it says St. Louis Rams down there. Came from a local McDonald's. I got it from my grandmother. And it's my all-time favorite football player. Doesn't matter what happens from here on out. Like I said, my childhood hero. And yeah, I'm a Chiefs fan now, but that was a matter of politics and crap, right? So yeah, Isaac Bruce, all-time favorite football player. Here's his rookie card and a special autograph card. But yeah, I just wanted to, and he went on to, have a Hall of Fame career. I think he would have been in the Hall of Fame sooner if he had been a loudmouth, because at one point in time he was second all-time in reception yards. And yeah, I understand NFL statistics are what they are, but Terrell Owens played in the same era, and Isaac Bruce was better than him for a period of time. But anyway, yeah, just do a quick rundown. Like I said, Ozzie, rookie card, autograph card. McInnes, rookie card, autograph card. And then Bruce, autograph, or rookie card, autograph card. But yeah, our childhood heroes were the players that we watched at the time, right? For the most part. Just kind of wanted to, I don't know, just think about mine, talk about mine, show some cards of mine. I'm sure you all have yours, especially for the longer standing channels. I'm sure you've showed your stuff before, but maybe now's a good time for a refresher. I don't know. But yeah, like, who are your childhood heroes? Was it players you got to watch? Did you ever get to meet them? There is a saying, like, never meet your heroes. I could say that I don't regret meeting any of my heroes. Maybe you did. That would actually really kind of suck. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and you all have a good one.